What is the biggest challenge young people in Nigeria have in acquiring land? I saw from your book that at times it's not about not having enough money. You spoke about cost versus value of land, pricing of land, and all those things. What's your take on that?
I think one of the things we need to mention, and it's good for education for people, is the fact that the Land Use Act, for example, says when the child is not up to 18, if he needs to acquire land, he needs a trustee. So we should stop buying land in the name of our children if there's no trustee, because effectively that transaction is void ab initio. That's very important. So don't just buy land for your son and say, oh, Savio, put the name of my last born, except you are the trustee. But I think one of the challenges we have with the younger generation, we don't even prioritize property. I mean, so you hear people buy cars. There's enough to buy an acre in some parts of Lagos. And then again, also the question of priority comes in. I mean, people believe more in moving assets than real estate. But I tell people, land is powerful. Do you know today, if you went to court and you needed a bill, they're going to tell you to get somebody that has money and land. Every case. I mean, I'm sure you have heard all the cases. They'll tell the person should bring 400 million and get two shorties in license who has landed property in Abuja.
Yes.
So that's the importance of land. So I tell people, particularly young people, is that wherever you live in that state, make sure you have land there. Now you may tell me, no, I don't want to. Okay, so I'm a Tush guy. I live on the high. No, sorry, I work on the island. I rented a place in VGC. The money I have cannot get a place in VGC because I mean it's expensive. Even if it's going to be a Jangbaji or somewhere, ensure you have a title to your name once you have started earning an income. Because at the point in which you need a title as proof of anything, including bailing your brother if the brother is in trouble, you're not going to have anything to run to. And the funny thing about land always appreciates. So you go to Magboro, for example, in Lagos, which is on the way out of Lagos, going through the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, or you go to Mowe, or you go to Ibafo, or whether you're going, I mean, look at Abuja, for example. There were people that were staying in Karu before that. When you travel to Karu, it was like you are traveling. Now you could almost go on a straight distance. I was telling my son once that when I was young, when we used to come to Lagos, they would wake me up in the car and buy me crabs in Ikorodu. And then I'll sleep off and then wake up when we get to Fadeyi. And my son said, no, why will you sleep? I said, because after Ikorodu, after you buy it, it's bush. The first place you see evidence of life is going to be in Ojota. Yeah. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So there were people that they offered land in those areas that said the place is far. Now there are people staying well beyond Ikorodu that will even have Ikorodu Oga and Ikorodu Omoshe somewhere down the road. So the question is, where you say is far, it's only far to you. For somebody else, it's not far. And that money, if you buy that property, is there, it will appreciate, it will grow.
You wrote things like, what happens if a man dies, and he has not written a will? So who automatically inherits his land? What does the law say about that? I found that very interesting. And you explored different situations, scenarios in the southern part of Nigeria and the northern part of Nigeria, and so on. Can you say something a bit about that?
Okay, I mean, one of the ways most of us acquire land is also through inheritance because it's passed from generation to the other. But I mean, there are two categories. You either, if the person dies without a will or dies with a will. So if the person dies with a will and also married under the Marriage Act, then the property will be distributed according to his will. That's why it's a will. So one of the things this book also says is that write a will, so that your property can go to who you have determined it. I think the other part I should add, particularly for the sake of the females, is make sure you are married. There are too many people in Nigeria who think they are married, but they are not married. Interesting. Because there are laws that guide what makes a marriage valid, including the time of the day the marriage must be conducted. So if you do a wedding after 8 p.m., it is not a marriage.
In Nigeria? In
Nigeria, because the law defines the time it must happen, So two things are very valid when you married under the Marriage Act. Make sure you are validly married, and secondly, make sure you have a will. But if the person does not have a will, now that's where the completion comes in. Because what the law says is that the property of the person will now be shared based on the traditional and customary rights in that area. So if it's in Yoruba land, for example, there are two modes of sharing those properties. It's either going to be Oriojori or Idigi, Oriojori is the man has 10 children, you divide the asset to 10 and each one gets one. Idigi is, each mother is an Igi. Igi in Yoruba is the Yoruba word for 3. So you say the man has 3 wives, but this one has 2, this one has 4. You don't care about that. So he has 3 wives, so divide the asset into 3. And then the children are share with it. So all of that comes into being and all the complications. And then things like, so for example, so that's Yoruba land. You go to Edo land where, for example, in Benin, there's what they call the Gyogbe, where the first son must get the house of the man. And also one of the things I try to talk about in this book is the meaning of a family house, which is also very, very contentious in Nigeria. Yeah. Once a man is building a house and others contribute to it, it has become a family house.
Once a man is building
yes, and others contribute to it.
Others in the family.
Others, other children. So here now, you're building a house, it's on family land, and one way or the other, just because I want to be able to prove to you that I'm a member of a family, I come with 2 bags of cement. That house potentially has only become family house.
According to the law.
According to the law, according to the custom too.
Okay.
So the way you will be able to give that land is different from whether you built it entirely on your own. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So there are cases where people do not know this. So in case of men that have wives or children from other women who they are not married to, sometimes those women are very creative and they ensure that while the man is building, they are part of that development. So maybe when he wants to go and buy cement or go to buy land, they go with him and they also chip him some money and they keep the receipts just to be able to prove that you can't claim this is you, the 2 of us, own it alone. So that's one of the things we also explore in the book. There's also the question of, okay, now when people want to go and buy land, they'll say this land is bought by Mr. and Mrs. Yomi Fawehinmi. That Mrs. is not present. My name is Yomi Fawehinmi, right? Mm-hmm. So if you say Mr. and Mrs. Yomi Fawehinmi, I can delete it and make the Mrs. become Funke, Funmi, Fola, Shade, Mary, Abraham, Moses. Anybody can be that Mrs. So when you go to, and that's part of what, when you go to do that agreement, it must not be Mr. and Mrs. It must be Mr. Morenike Olushade and Mr. Omoyemi Akintunde. And in that case, what happens is...
Or rather, Mrs.
Yeah. And then in that case, you are protected, whatever happens. Now, interestingly, and that's where all the women and the men here should ensure they are really married. Now, so when that person dies and is joint ownership, it becomes yours 100%.
Finally, let me read one of your tips here on your, I think this is chapter 8, practical tips on land acquisition in Nigeria. Okay, which is quite an interesting chapter here. Now, somebody is asking, it's a Q&A. Yeah. What papers do I need to see before making a land transaction? So let me focus on that as we close, because that's a very common, one. Do you have C of O, or do you have your survey, or do you have what, that's a common one. So what papers do I need to see before making a land transaction? It's here in your book, but let's give teasers. What did you put here?
Okay, so one of the things you need to think about, there are so many papers about land. I've seen people buy land just based on survey. Say, what do you have? They gave me survey. And then say, what's the survey? He says, the survey. I said, no, you can't buy land based on survey. It's just like saying you bought a human being because you saw his picture. So there is a survey. The survey shows the physical location of the land. You need to have that. It's clearly delineated. Please ensure anytime you are given a survey, you go to verify with Lagos State government. Every good survey has what is called a red copy that is with government. If there's no corresponding version with government, is void. So survey, you need to also get the title of the seller. The title of the seller is what he's selling. Now, so somebody could say I have a C of O. Somebody could say I have a conveyance. Somebody could say I have a deed of assignment. Those are all various evidence of a title. You must be sure to see that title. If the title is from is the certificate of occupancy, it pays you to go to Alausa, Lagos State. I mean, for the sake of the all good secretariat in your various states, or wheresoever your capital is, to verify whether it's a correct C of O. Now, if it's a deed of assignment or a deed of conveyance, it is good for you to also verify from government to be sure whether the land is free for sale. So, There are landed property, for example, in Nigeria where government has acquired it but they have not started using it. So people go to buy it. So the government could acquire land and start using it. That's one. Don't touch it. Even if it's sold to you by your pastor, tell him, God bless you, thank you. But it's possible for government to have acquired land and not started using it. People still sell it, which is illegal. If you buy it, you are in trouble because government will come back and acquire it. But you could also go back to acts. That is what is called ratification. So when government acquires land, there are two categories again. No, three categories. The ones they are currently using. So the school is there, the library is there. But the ones they have not used, there is what they call the one that has been earmarked. So they have decided we'll build a library here 20 years' time. That one, there is nothing you can do about it. Government will not allow you to develop it. If you develop it, you've just wasted your money. But there's a second one where government has acquired but have not earmarked it for a purpose. Now, with the process called ratification, you go and pay more money to government. Then you can do that. So you need. So once it's not a CFO, that's where you need to go to that level of due diligence and all of that.
So there are all sorts of landmines, landmines to escape. I mean, to look out for while trying to acquire land in Nigeria. Yomi, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks for your time. I enjoyed myself. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Well, I hope you have enjoyed today's show. Please join us next week for another exciting episode. I am Olakunle Kasumo. Remember, one great book can change your life. Bye-bye.